Binolithid. But first, we go live with X the Mystic and find out why gem harvesting has gone too far. X. You say that the people of the material plane should stop harvesting so many gems. Why? What's the danger of it?
Well, a great many things for starters. The Xorn aren't inherently violent, but we make them be like that. They feast on these gems, and the demand for these gems are too high. Alchemical resources, adventurers trying to make a buck, or encrust their crazy enchanted armor with 100 emeralds. Things like that are hurting the Xorn, making them become violent towards miners and adventurers way over their head. Oh, I've got to go. My squire has been crushed by the wrath of my angry Xorn servant. Remember, always keep a few gems in your pocket. A hungry Xorn is a helpful Xorn.
Thank you, X. That last quote there was from X the Mystic's 6th rule of dungeon survival. And now a bit of background on the Xorn. Xorn. Bizarre creatures native to the elemental plane of Earth, Xorn sniff out gemstones and precious metals, then tunnel through earth and rock to consume those treasures. On the material plane, Xorn must range far and wide through the Underdark to sustain themselves, becoming aggressive towards miners and treasure hunters when the valuable minerals of their diet are scarce. A Xorn's unnatural origins are suggested by its unusually heavy body and the large, powerful mouth sitting atop its head. Its 3 long arms are each tipped with sharp talons, and its 3 large stone-lidded eyes see in all directions. Possessed of the power of elemental earth, a Xorn glides through stone and dirt as easily as a fish swims through water. It doesn't displace earth or stone when it moves, but merges with it and flows through it, leaving no tunnel, hole, or hint of its passage. Xorn prefer not to leave their home plane, where they easily eat their fill of gemstones and precious metals. When a Xorn winds up on the material plane, whether by accident or from curiosity, it seeks sustenance and a way home. Xorn scour the depths of the earth for precious metal and stones. Because they are unable to consume organic material, they ignore most other creatures. However, a Xorn's ability to sniff out metals and stones often draws its attention to adventurers, carrying coins and gems. Because a Xorn isn't evil, it pleads or bargains in the hope of convincing owners to give up their treasure, offering up information it has learned from its travels in exchange. A Xorn whose requests are ignored might resort to threats and bullying. If starving or angered, it resorts to force. Alright, stat-wise, the Xorn is a challenge rating of 5. High strength, very high constitution, average everything else. Good amount of hit points, 78 plus 42, or 73 if you're doing average hit points. Armor class of 19, making it fairly hard to hit, at least in 5th edition. Now, it has 3 special abilities: Earth Glide, Stone Camouflage, and Treasure Sense. The Xorn can burrow through non-magical unworked earth and stone. While doing so, the Xorn doesn't disturb the material it moves through. That's Earth Glide. Stone Camouflage. The Xorn has the advantage on dexterity or stealth checks, made to hide in rocky terrain. Treasure Sense. The Xorn can pinpoint, by scent, the location of precious metals and stones, such as coins and gems, within 60 feet of it. Now, as far as the actions go, it's pretty much limited to basic natural attacks, such as Claw and Bite, but it has multi-attack, which allows the Xorn to make 3 Claw attacks and 1 Bite attack. That is insane, considering each Claw does 1d6 plus 3 slashing damage, with a plus 6 to hit, and its Bite does 3d6 plus 3. So you're looking at a total of 66 plus 12, it looks like, right? Yeah. 6d6 plus 12 if it hits on every single one. That's insanely high amount of damage output for these guys. You really don't want to make one mad if you find one, especially if you're a lower level of 5. I'd say anywhere between levels 1 and 7 or 8. You don't really want to piss any one of these guys off. If it's just one, a group of a party of 4 level 5 adventurers could probably take it, but it would be kind of rough because their multi-attack, man, that's just a damage dealer right there. So based on what I've read here, I really like these guys. They're kind of cool. They have a little bit of personality to them. I definitely use them in a homebrew campaign, or just add one in a existing module somewhere if you're traveling the Underdark, or perhaps even the surface. There's nothing saying that one can't come up to the surface. Maybe they found their way up through the Underdark and found a dwarven city. It was cast out of the dwarven city by its defenders, and it's roaming the mountainous terrain above the dwarven area, and maybe your party has to go to an area, and it kind of do the whole troll guarding a bridge, but with a Xorn. You know, give me some gems, and I'll give you some information about what you need. It could also be a very good informant. And now the party, if they're like, oh, what's this guy? He's stupid. He's stupid looking. I don't like him. It's their mistake, you know. If they don't know what it is, which I've never really heard of one before now, because I've never played one, and I've never played against one as a player character. I wouldn't know how powerful this guy was, and the group could take it on and start getting their asses kicked, especially if he crits with one of these. If a fight did break out, I would probably allow the players to bypass it through a little bit of diplomacy, although it speaks the Terran language. I don't know. I think that's just like elemental stuff, but you know, maybe there's a wizard or a smart person in the group that speaks Terran. I'd have to look up the language list, but maybe they could bargain it out in the middle of a fight and give it gems, you know, lots and lots of gems, and that could make the Xorn very helpful. So that's probably how I would use one. I wouldn't have one attack the PC party at first, unless it's a very hungry Xorn, and then it attacks the party. But then I would make the group do like a wisdom check to see the kind of nature of this being. It looks savage, or it looks very hungry, and do a history check, like, you know that these things eat rare earth minerals, such as gems, and your coins are made of gold or platinum. You know, throw out one of those, and maybe it could be reasoned with, because these guys are a library of knowledge based on where they're from. There's no telling what they could tell the party. Alright, that's all for the Xorn. I do have one more. The Intellect Devourer, Korik El-Zurk, the Mind Flayer, says, "Don't cry, we have no intention of eating your brain. In fact, your brain is going on a wonderful journey." And that journey could be up to you. I really should have tied these in with the Mind Flayers. However, I did not roll them up with the Mind Flayers, and them's the rules I made for doing this series, is I randomly roll and do whichever one I roll up. So an Intellect Devourer resembles a walking brain protected by a crusty covering and set on bestial clawed legs. This foul aberration feeds on the intelligence of sentient creatures, taking over a victim's body on behalf of its Mind Flayer masters. Mind Flayers breed Intellect Devourers to serve as roaming hunters of the Underdark, creating an Intellect Devourer by taking the brain of a thrall and subjugating it to its horrible ritual. As it sprouts legs, the brain becomes an intelligent predator as twisted and evil as its master. An Intellect Devourer consumes a creature's mind and memories, then turns the host body into a puppet under its control. An Intellect Devourer typically uses its puppet host to lure others into the domain of the Mind Flayers to be enthralled or consumed. Now, they are tiny little aberrations, lawful evil, of course, challenge rating of 2, so not too difficult, but they can be a real pain in the ass if coupled with some Mind Flayers and other thralls. So they have one special ability. It's called Detect Sentience. The Intellect Devourer can sense the presence and location of any creature within 300 feet of it that has an intelligence of 3 or higher, regardless of interposing barriers, unless the creature is protected by a Mind Blink spell. So it has a multi-attack action. The Intellect Devourer makes one attack with its claws and uses Devour Intellect. So its claws are 2d4 plus 2 slashing. Devour Intellect is when the Intellect Devourer targets one creature it can see within 10 feet of it that has a brain. The target must succeed on a DC 12 intelligence saving throw against this magic, or take 11 or 2d10 psychic damage. Also on a failure, roll 3d6. If the total equals or exceeds the target's intelligence, that score is reduced to 0. That's pretty crazy. See, this is why, even though they have a low challenge rating, they are pretty deadly, or they can be. And the target is stunned until it regains at least 1 point of intelligence. Whew, that's kind of cruel. Body Thief. This basically says that the Intellect Devourer initiates an intelligence contest with an incapacitated humanoid within 5 feet. If it wins the contest, then it magically consumes the target's brain, and then it teleports into the target's skull and takes control of the target's body. While inside the creature, it basically has total cover against attacks and other effects originating outside of its host, basically creating a little armor shell for it. That's kind of cool. It retains its intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores, as well as deep speech, telepathy, and all of its traits. Otherwise, it adopts the rest of the target's statistics. It knows everything that the creature knew, including spells and languages. When the body drops to 0, the Intellect Devourer must leave. A protection from evil and good cast on the body drives the Intellect Devourer out. The Intellect Devourer is also forced out if the target regains its devoured brain. I don't know how that would work out. Oh, okay. By means of a wish. By spending 5 feet of its movement, the Intellect Devourer can voluntarily leave the body, teleporting to the nearest unoccupied space within 5 feet. The body then dies unless the brain is restored within 1 round. That's pretty harsh. How I would use these is basically I would tie them up with a Mind Flare. So go over and check out my Illithids video and addendum right here in the corner. Alright everyone, that's all for this time, so please like, subscribe, or comment, and let me know how you like this video. Thanks for watching.